This lens costs $650 used, $950 brand new, and it's trash. Hi, my name is Dylan, and welcome to my channel. First of all, introduction to my channel. I do all sorts of things related to outdoor travel, lifestyle, and also photo and video stuff. Also, overlanding is a big topic on my channel, so feel free to subscribe if you're interested in any of those topics. Today, specifically, we're talking about this. This is the Sigma 50mm 1.4 Art, and I bought it specifically to use on my Panasonic S1, and today I'm going to be doing a brief review of it and explain why I am returning it. Now, when I am evaluating a lens, there's a couple different categories I like to look at it. First of all is the physical build quality of it. Next is the optical performance, the autofocus performance, and then finally the price in relationship to all of the other things in order to determine if it's a good value or not. So anyway, we'll start with the good on this lens, which is the build quality. There's not a ton of features on this lens. However, it is one of the nicest built lenses I've ever used. I've owned art lenses before in the past for my Nikon kit, and I was always exceptionally impressed with how well they were put together. It's all metal construction. It's got a weather sealing gasket. The focusing ring is really, really nice and smooth. I have no complaints about the build quality. It is a little large and heavy, but for the kind of optical performance you get, I think it is worth carrying around. And also, if you're using this on a Panasonic S series body, it's going to feel right at home. Those are large camera bodies, and this lens, feels just fine on them. The optical performance of this lens is without a doubt the best lens I've ever used. I've owned all sorts of lenses. I'm kind of actually notorious for buying and selling lenses more often than I actually use them. So I've had a lot of lenses in my day, and without a doubt, this is the sharpest one. I am going to pop up some samples on screen here for you of some photos I've taken in the past. I've been able to do engagement shoot, wedding shoot. I've done some outdoor lifestyle stuff with it, just taken it on some short little hikes. And I've gotten a really good understanding of the optical characteristics of this lens. I also got some portrait photos of my wife, Lakin. Here they are here. Those were exceptionally interesting to me because I shot those almost into direct sun, even got some lens flare on the front of the lens, and I was very, very pleased with the results I got. So anyway, the optical performance of this lens, absolutely fantastic. Now we come to the bad with the lens, and that is, unfortunately, the autofocusing performance. Now, I was aware that these Art Series lenses on the Panasonic S series, I was aware that the AF performance of them was not widely renowned for being good, but I wanted to give it a chance anyway, simply because there's not really a ton of other options for the S series of cameras. So anyway, I decided to give it a go, and when I first got it and I was just doing single autofocus from one point to another, nothing continuous, nothing tracking or anything like that, I was generally, for the most part, pretty pleased with it, and I guess I'll say that I still am. It's not as fast as I would like it to be, but it's acceptable, and when it does focus, I found it to be pretty accurate. What I wasn't pleased with on that note was that sometimes sometimes it seemed like it would get confused, and I know it was just this lens. If I was focusing on the same subject with the 24 to 105, it would not. I know it would not have this problem. Sometimes you'll put the box exactly on the item you want to focus on, and it will think that it's in focus, but it's not even close. That only happened occasionally, so I'll summarize that to say that it's inconsistent, and that's really unfortunate because a lens with such a shallow depth of field, you want your focus to be accurate and you want it to be quick, and unfortunately it's just not there in that regard. And unfortunately, it gets even worse when I start to talk about continuous autofocus. Continuous autofocus in stills is slow, and frankly, it's just too slow to keep up with any moving subjects. I really got to try this out when I was shooting a wedding, and I was actually very pleased with the lens for the most part throughout the day, but for me, I have to be able to trust the continuous autofocus if I'm shooting a wedding. I need to be able to just put it on my subject and just hold that button down and know that every single photo I get is mostly going to be in focus. But that just wasn't the experience I had with it. It seems to hunt just a little bit too much. And I really think it just goes back to the fact that these lenses were designed for DSLRs that had phase detection systems, and as we know, the Panasonic bodies are using contrast autofocusing, which I know a lot of people despise the contrast detection in the first place. I'm actually not one of those people. I've been very happy with it when I've been using Panasonic lenses that are optimized for the system. This, however, has just been a complete and utter disappointment. And then the continuous autofocus in video is the most atrocious thing I've ever seen. It is so incredibly bad. Not only is it slow and inaccurate, and it hunts back and forth, it also makes a ton of noise. Even with a microphone mounted above the camera, it's still going to pick up the noise that this thing makes. So don't even bother with it. One redeeming quality to the lens in that regard is the fact that it still is a lens that's old enough to have a mechanically linked focusing clutch. There's no fly-by-wire. It still has a nice focusing ring, and it has audible stopping points on either end. So with that, if you're going to be using this lens for video, which I would highly recommend, I would recommend that you use it with manual focus. The autofocus in video is terrible, but at least if you're going to manually focus, your experience is going to be really good and really, really easy with this lens. All of that in the context of the price point of this lens. Brand new, if you go to B&H, you'll get this lens for $950. And if you go on eBay and search around, maybe you'll be lucky and you'll be like me and you could get it for $650. Which is not a bad price to pay for the optical performance and the build quality of this lens. But for me, it's all just ruined by the autofocusing performance. Part of the reason I got an S-series camera was because I wanted really, really fast and predictable autofocusing, something a little bit more modern than an old DSLR. But once you put a lens like this on it, it just kind of takes the whole thing back by a step. And it really makes the whole experience feel really antiquated and also just frankly unreliable. Even with old lenses like this, I could have put it on my Nikon D750 and I could have trusted it to be in focus 95% of the time, whereas this, it's a much lower hit rate on a much newer, much more advanced camera. So it's just really kind of disappointing, and I'm really, really happy with my Panasonic, but goodness gracious, Panasonic, please come out with some 1.8 inexpensive prime lenses. Even just a 50mm 1.8, that's a couple $100. I'd be thrilled to replace this lens with something like that in order to have native autofocusing performance and good optics that Panasonic always delivers. But anyway, this lens is getting sent back. Yeah, I haven't been pleased with it on the whole, so it's going to be going back. But anyway, feel free to leave a comment if you've purchased any of the older generation of Sigma Art glass and you've put it on your Panasonic camera. I'd love to hear what your experience with them has been. But anyway, with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.